To order, I have 7:02 p.m. I do need to announce that we are being recorded this evening for rebroadcast. We are not going out live. Is anyone else making a recording of this meeting tonight? Okay, we do not have any public hearings. 7 o'clock, Mr. Vieira from VHB, relative to the Z126 National Grid project. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Before I start, I'd like to give you a revised letter that I submitted.
Okay.
The only revision is the date. I
Okay.
messed up. I put, I think it was 2010 instead of 2013.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm a little behind the times. That's what I get for copying other letters. I'm using-
Yeah, cut and paste. We're all notorious for that. Oh, yeah.
I have other copies if other folks want, but basically
It's the same letter.
Same
yeah.
letter.
Okay.
I guess what I want to talk to you about is, I just want to give you an update of National Grid's Z126 project. I want to talk a little bit about some changes, and I also want to talk a little bit about the other project that's on the same right-of-way. National Grid, for those you know, the Commission approved or issued an order of conditions for the Z126 project, which is a new transmission line project from Millbury all through Auburn.
Right.
At the same time, on that same right-of-way, National Grid has another project, which is a maintenance project, which is essentially exempt under the Wetland Protection Act. That project is referred to as the A127, B128, and that's a reconductoring project. And that project is basically they're changing the wires. They're putting in new wires.
Right.
The project is actually an old project. There was actually some work done on it maybe about 4 years ago. Both of these projects go back 4.5 years, going on 5 years now. But the A127, B128 was always scheduled to be completed prior to the Z126. And for a variety of reasons, it hasn't been. Now that the Z126 project is ready to start, National Grid has decided that the A127, B128 project is also going to occur pretty much concurrently at some points in time. Both projects had separate sets of plans, and when the construction managers looked at the sets, there was overlap between some of the work areas and access, and what they wanted was they wanted the two plan sets overlaid one on top of the other to consolidate the project. And that's what we've done, and what I've provided the Commission is a plan for the Auburn portion of the project, which shows the consolidation. Now, what they also looked at is when they saw how they all overlapped, the construction folks decided that they wanted to make some changes. It's more of actually constricting some of the work areas, and they also wanted some of the work areas, as they got more involved in looking at it from a construction perspective, they wanted to make some changes. So what we've done is we have consolidated the plan sets, and we looked at, when we did that, and after everybody agreed that it was the way they wanted, we looked at the impacts and what that really meant. For the A127, I'm just going to refer to it as the AB project. That project has, while it's exempt under the Wetland Protection Act, it's not exempt under the Federal Clean Water Act.
Right.
So it has a federal individual permit, and it has a federal water quality certification
Right.
through DEP.
Right. 401.
And National Grid actually has a special process for that. It's an individual process. They worked out deals with both DEP and the Corps and the EPA and the other interests that review these things. So they have a process for that, and they were issued an individual permit. The Z126 has permit from both Auburn and Millbury from the Conservation Commissions, and it also has an individual permit from the Corps and a water quality certification. So when we looked at it from not only the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act side of things, we also looked at it from the federal side of things in terms of impacts. So what happened when we looked at just the Z126 portion of the project, there was an increase of 2,300 square feet, plus or minus, of temporary impacts in bordering vegetated wetland. And what I mean by temporary impacts, it's essentially the placement of timber mats that they work off of while they're in wetlands. It's temporary impacts. The project has tree clearing as part of it. That did not change. It's only the temporary impacts. When we looked at it from the federal side of things, the AB project, there was a reduction of impacts of 25,000 square feet, roughly. That was a reduction of more than half an acre. Now, when I look at one increased, one decreased, the net is a net decrease of just a little more than a half an acre. We looked at floodplain impacts. Again, these are just temporary. There's not a loss of flood storage. In fact, the project overall probably results in a net gain of flood storage because we're removing trees in portions of the floodplain. But the actual placement of access ways and timber mats for work areas resulted in an increase of 9,500 square feet in floodplain. In the riverfront area, a similar situation. There were changes, and there was an increase of 2,800 square feet, roughly. So overall, in terms of, those are all temporary. Overall, there was a net decrease in terms of wetlands, and it was significant in terms of being at half an acre. Now, if you look at the plans, you can somewhat see what the consolidation is. Let me take a sheet from the Auburn side, just so. I'm trying to get you a good example that shows it. It's a little easier in Millbury, where they had some significant overlaps.
Just ask you a question. Why does it say New England Power doing business as National Grid?
It was originally New England Power. It was bought out by a British company, and National Grid is the British company. But because they have so many agreements that go back, almost 100 years,
Stuff, yeah.
yeah, they just do it that way. If you look at, just for example, look at sheet C6. Now, I'll give you an example around wetland. Wetland 18 is the first wetland in Auburn. And there's timber mats that are on the plan for wetland 18. Now, you can see now the timber mat is right up against the edge of the wetland. That was a change where the timber mats actually went into wetland 18. And we went through every one of them, and we tried to be really, specific in terms of what we were asking the construction people, exactly how much work areas do you need. So that was one where there was a reduction in wetland impacts. And the table, let me explain. The table that you see, we have, if you look at table 1, which is in the information we provided, table 1 is the old numbers in terms of the impacts previous to the changes. Table 2 is the new impacts. And the numbers in red are where there was an increase. And the numbers in green, if you can see them there, some of them overlaid with green, but that's where there was a decrease. So the table on the left-hand side is what the commission approved as part of the order condition. And the table on the right-hand side are the new numbers.
Oh, I see this. This like red.
Yeah,
light.
the red is the
So
red.
If you're colorblind, you may not.
Yeah,
Right.
that wasn't intentional.
It doesn't look red to me.
Yeah, I can see it.
On the right-hand side's the red, yeah.
Yeah, it's only on the right-hand side. is where the
Wetland
change is.
22, wetland 31, 32, and 34
Yeah.
all have a
Yeah.
net decrease.
If you look at the equivalent, or the same cell on on the opposing tables, you can see what the decrease is, net increase or decrease, by adding and subtracting.
But those are all temporary disturbances.
They're all temporary impacts, and there are very few. The one permanent impact on the project, again, was the tree clearing. It's not a wetland loss, it's a wetland conversion. All of this information has been submitted to the Army Corps of Engineers. They're reviewing it. It's also been submitted to DEP, and DEP is part of the water quality, sir. The feedback I got back from them was that they were not opposed to it. They will issue an amendment, but they're waiting for the Corps. The Corps is actually the governing party here in terms of the Federal Clean Water Act. So they're waiting for the Corps. I did have a conversation with the Corps reviewer, and he wasn't opposed to it. We've done this before in other projects, and they've issued amendments. So we're expecting that there will be an amendment for this through the final process. So I guess everything's said and done. What National Grid is asking of the Commission is that the Commission, considering the overall impacts, even though some of these weren't under your jurisdiction, but there were efforts to try to reduce as much as possible the impacts overall, that the Commission determined that the changes are minor and that further public review won't be necessary for this.
You're asking for an amendment.
Well, we're asking that agreement that you'll accept these as a minor change such that...
Right, but we're going to need to reopen the hearing and to
Well,
amend the order of conditions.
See, that's the question. We just did this in Auburn, in Millbury, and they have agreed that the changes were minor and then would not warrant an opening of the public hearing, and they've issued a letter to that effect.
Yeah, see, I don't believe under policy 85-4 that that's allowed.
We were looking at this on another
We've got another issue with...
recently.
We've got 85-4, all of us right in front of us.
We actually
so
have the copy of the law right here somewhere.
I didn't think you could do that, but...
I haven't seen that, so can I just take a...
You can take a look, but you have to give it back to me.
That's,
You want to read mine?
Yes, and that's right.
I don't think that that's allowed for amendment. I went over this process with Joe Bellino at DEP, and if you're going to amend an order, you've got to reopen the hearing.
see, I'm the chairman of the Princeton Conservation Commission, and we do this on a regular basis, where we feel that it's so minor that, and what we'll do is we'll issue them a letter, and
Yeah.
Have you seen 85-4 before tonight?
no, I'm looking at it now.
Well,
Says the issuing authority first makes a determination whether the requested change is great enough to warrant the filing of a new notice of intent.
Or whether you can amend.
I mean, 85-4 does talk about the criteria for amending an existing order of conditions.
yes,
Right,
I think,
but to amend,
Right.
you need to reopen.
oh, I see, so it's not, we're not debating that, or maybe we are, but even if it's a minor change, we still have to open up to an...
Correct. If you follow 85-4, that's my understanding. If the board feels that it's an insignificant change and then it can be amended, then you can amend the order, but in order to do that, you must reopen the hearing.
And we need to give public notice.
Advertise
Yeah,
it
it looks
in the
like,
paper,
yeah,
at the applicant's expense.
if after.
And you're going to have to notify abutters.
Yeah, see, that's a huge burden because of the sheer numbers of the amount of abutters. There were hundreds. So it is a major deal.
I understand that, but,
Yeah.
but then there's this policy directive that's still in effect.
If that's the case, what I would like to do is I'd like to ask that the commission just hold off until.
The
I
next
can-
meeting?
Until the next meeting so that I can talk directly to DEP.
Absolutely.
Or just get some because this is really a burden in terms of the time and effort to do that. It's a I'm not kidding, it's a huge effort.
No, I believe you.
And we consider it overall, you know, in the whole scheme of things with a temporary, we consider it a minor impact. So.
And I don't think we're saying that it's not a
No,
minor
no,
impact,
I
it's just that procedurally,
Yeah, I understand. But let me,
maybe they can give you some sort of guidance on minimizing your abutters notices or something.
yeah, you know, we've gone back and forth with that, with these utility projects. See, we've already gone through the process with a number of abutters that we've already included in here.
Yes.
And I'd hate to change that for a variety of reasons, because it would just, it could trigger somebody to say, hey, you did it once, you didn't do it
Yep.
Kind of
again.
muddies
And
the
we're gonna
water.
get an appeal, and I don't wanna
Yeah.
go that route if we can avoid that. It's
Right.
not that we're trying to get away from doing anything,
No.
because it really doesn't.
And all we
change,
want
but-
to do is follow
Yeah.
the regulations
Yeah,
and be
all right.
consistent.
Let me,
that's all.
As if following this
That's available, by the way, from their website.
Right, the Mass DP, the
Yeah.
G54.
all right.
All right, so you're going to request that we put this on our April 24th
Yeah,
agenda?
if we can't get a letter tonight, based on tonight, I would ask that we just hold this until I can talk to DEP directly and
Okay.
see if I can get something from them.
Does the board share the same opinion, or?
I have no objection to continuing it.
Neither do I.
It's fine.
All right.
Okay,
All right,
Um,
then, well, so we'll put you on the 24th.
that's
I'll have to
fine.
let you know what time, because I don't have 24th agenda with me.
That's fine. I just want to talk a little bit briefly about construction and where it's all at.
Okay?
They've started in Auburn. Excuse me, I keep saying that. They've started in Millbury, and they're
Explicit.
probably, the tree clearers are probably the first thing you're going to see. Tree trimming and tree clearing is probably the first thing you're going to see in Auburn.
Okay?
Right now, they started last week, and they're very slow. And my expectations are it'll be several weeks before anything happens in Auburn. Yeah. Mitigation. There's one thing I'd like to talk a little bit about in the order of conditions. In the order of conditions, it states that the applicant will provide off-site mitigation as proposed in the notice of intent as proposed in the notice of intent prior to construction activities. National Grid is working, before I go there, part of the mitigation for this project was to provide preservation of 29 acres of land in Worcester. That's the off-site mitigation. And that land is going to go to the Massachusetts Audubon Society. They're still working on the transfer. There's a process that they have to go through. I don't think that's going to be finalized before the start of construction. And I would just ask the commission if they are opposed to that. It will happen. There are too many permits that have this in it that they wouldn't do it, but it is in the process. I can assure you that that is the case.
Yeah, guarantee is a dangerous word.
No, this is solid. I'm not.
Well, this is the same order of conditions we're talking about, right?
Yes.
So
the
if you're going to
waiver.
amend it for the
Yeah.
other thing, then why don't you include a request to amend for that?
Okay.
I mean, the condition is there, it wasn't appealed. We can't just change a condition because,
Okay.
I mean, I understand the point, but,
All right. So I'll be talking to DEP about the two items.
But
Okay.
do we even have jurisdiction since it's another town?
well, they're offering mitigation for our impact through this off-site mitigation.
How can it not be?
In part. Auburn is also getting another
Right.
mitigation. They're getting, the town of Auburn is getting a study that's being done by the University of
Right.
Massachusetts, and we're going through the contracting on that now. Excuse me, with the University of Massachusetts. National Grid has approved it. VHB is subcontracting the University of Massachusetts to do that. And they're they're online to start that soon. So as soon as the contracting is finalized, they will be out.
Okay. I think Sheila did prepare a preliminary agenda for April 24th.
Okay, yeah, I didn't bring it with me.
I have it, so
Okay. What time?
I think 7:30.
7:30, okay.
Does that work for you?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Thank you, Michael.
Sure.
All right then, so we'll plan on you for 7:30 on the 24th.
Okay,
All right?
and hopefully I'll have some information from DEP.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay. If you get anything in writing ahead of time, if you could, forward it over and let us know.
Mhm.
Our admin's gonna be out for about a month, so, do you have my email address?
No, I don't.
I wanted to write it down for you.
Yeah.
Don't we have an email address for the Conservation Commission?
We do, but it
Yeah.
doesn't seem to ever be, I don't know, because I don't have access to it from home, so.
Well, just auburnconservation@gmail.com.
Well, we can write that down too, I guess. I never even think about that.
Yeah, a little
At
bit.
some point.
Does anybody check it?
No,
Well, occasionally. I mean, I have it up on the screen at the meetings if somebody.
auburnconservation@gmail.com.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. I got it. And in terms of, it sounded like you had a conversation with
Action right
DEP
now.
about the policy.
Yes, several.
For other
Joe
issues.
Bellino in the
Joe
Worcester
Bellino?
office. Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, well, I'll talk to DEP and we'll see what they say.
Okay, that's
Okay.
fine. I'm
And,
anxious to see what guidance they give, and maybe they can help out with that.
okay,
that
and
issue.
if by some chance we do have to go the route of opening up, would it be opening up the public hearing again?
Yep,
Okay.
yeah, the newspaper, just as if it was a new filing.
And what are your deadlines for submission of additional information? When would I have to submit everything?
I'd have to check because,
Okay,
I don't know what they're doing now. I think they're using the Telegram and Gazette as opposed to the Auburn News. So at least you have a little bit more time.
okay,
The Auburn News is a weekly as opposed to a daily,
right.
so. But I can check with, Adam Burney is our acting director of inspectional services, so he's sort of coordinating things for us
Okay,
during Sheila's absence.
all right, so should I call him with the details if I have to?
Yeah,
have
that's
it?
fine, because he'll keep me informed.
Okay. Okay, great,
Thank you.
thank you.
Have a nice evening.
That's a good one.
Okay. I don't think we had any specific time for Diamond, and I think we told him we'd make a decision if
Yeah.
they could be here or not. So,
Exactly.
that was the next item on the agenda. Anyways, so, 2 weeks ago, we heard their arguments as to why we should consider amending their existing order of conditions to include both the work that they did that was not in conformance with the original order of conditions, plus the request to include in that amended order of conditions the building of that new road, the new Faith Ave.
Right.
Yeah, Faith Ave. So we need to make a decision on whether you're going to consider any part of it as an amendment, or all of it as an amendment, or are you going to separate out the road project from the rest of it? And the thing I think you need to remember is that although they built a building that's 80% larger than was permitted, there was no additional encroachment or wetlands impact relative to that project. They did do a replication area, and the replication area, of course, is now the area where that new road would go through.
Possibly.
Possibly, yes. So anyways, we need to let them know what direction we're going in. So whether we're going, because they need to get their paperwork in, whatever we end up doing. So the board needs to make that decision. And Michael was kind enough to pass out another copy of the policy tonight, 85-4 from DEP, along with an email on the top. So anyways, you know, it's there for your reference.
Well, the thing is, as far as we're concerned, if there's a significant change, I mean, granted, we're the Conservation Commission, but does it really matter what the nature of the significant change is? If it's a significant change to the plan, it's a significant change.
It's not that. It's if there's a significant
Impact.
change in the scope or the purpose of the original plan, you can't amend it according to the policy. The road, to me, is a significant change.
Right.
But as far as addressing the issue of the 80% larger building, there's no additional impact to the resource areas.
Yeah, I mean, we, as you know, we went out there a few weeks ago, and
Right, the three of us went out there.
I mean, I think frankly, the issue of the increased building is something that should have been addressed by the planning board,
Right.
which they apparently they didn't do.
Right.
And so I think we're certainly within our rights to distinguish between the site conditions as they exist now, whether or not the 80% larger building had an impact on the site conditions that we sort of mandated under the order of conditions, and then consider whether their proposal to now put a new road in through the wetland area that they replicated justifies or actually requires a new notice of intent. So, I mean, my feeling is that, I mean, I think the existing structure doesn't impact the work that was done
Yep.
on the property. And so, for that reason, I would move to allow them to amend the existing order conditions to include the scope of work or the work that was done in connection with the construction of the larger building.
Okay.
I would, on the other hand, not or deny their request for amending the order conditions to construct a new roadway for a variety of different reasons. I think reading 85-4, I think 85-4 is on point with respect to the significant change that would result to the property and to order of conditions by the construction of that roadway through the wetland. And as such, I think a new notice of condition, a new notice of intent for that road would be required.
Okay.
And so I would put that in the form of a motion.
Is there a second on that?
I'll second that.
So in essence, your motion is dual in that you want to tell them that we'll allow them to amend the original order of conditions to include the building that was actually built.
And existing site conditions.
Right, and existing site conditions, and that they will be required to file a new notice of intent for the work in connection with the rebuilding of Faith Ave.
The proposed
The
new,
road.
yes, that's correct.
Okay. And there's a second on that. All those in favor?
I
Opposed? So
I'm
voted.
going to abstain from that.
Okay, I'm sorry, Tom.
Now, per our visit, do we have further comments about the potential for having a bridge over the wetland there? Because
Well-
that's advisory, and we don't do that.
I mean, I think based on what we've just determined, they'll need to file a notice of intent for that road. And I think it, obviously subject to public hearing and all kinds of input.
Right.
Hello?
Planning board or the conservation commission?
Conservation.
Good.
So the bottom line is, I mean, like you said, whatever method they choose to cross the wetland is part of their filing.
Correct.
Right. Which,
Whether it's,
in our view, they should consider it as one of their alternatives in the new filing then.
but that's up to them to
That's
address.
up to them, of
yeah.
That's up to
So-
them
Right.
and subject to a later
To
debate.
review
Right.
it at a hearing. Okay. Is there any further discussion on the Diamond
No.
project? Okay. All right. Were you here for a particular thing?
Inland Hoppers?
Oh, okay. Are you Mr. DeRozier?
Yes.
Okay. Why don't we take you out of order then? Since we don't have any other... You're at 273 Washington Street, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Why don't you come up and join us? Thank you for coming tonight. I think Michael and Tom, you had seen this site, had you not?
We did. We went out
Okay.
there, probably in January or February, maybe.
I think it was like January.
But we saw building materials. There's, as you know, the property. There are building materials, or there's a sort of a berm, and there's a wetland area behind that berm. And when we were there in January, we observed building materials on the top of that berm, maybe even starting to migrate down the hill.
But not in the wetlands,
But not in the wetlands, but within, certainly within a 100-foot buffer zone.
okay? There's no reason we can't be in the 100-foot buffer zone.
Well, I believe.
Order of conditions says construction equipment, not building materials.
Well, sir, we were concerned that the material that we did see could encroach on the wetlands.
When it does, call us. It's not in the wetlands, it's on the edge of the wetlands, and we're well within our rights to have it there, correct?
I don't have your file, so I don't know what's on your order of conditions.
I do.
Did you bring it with you?
When
No.
does your order of conditions expire?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Okay. Sheila did provide us with the file.
No.
And I had asked her specifically for what, the regulation that you're referring to, and she couldn't give it to me.
When you filed your notice of intent, was there a provision to store building materials within
We
the
we
buffer
had
zone?
designated a construction yard.
I understand that, but I'm asking you a specific question.
Yes. We're designated a construction yard, and we're storing construction materials within our construction
Were
yard.
these used materials? I thought that from what you described, they were debris, building materials, not
Yep.
new, they're not new, is it new stuff?
No, we saw debris there.
It's pieces of pipe.
Yeah. And I think paving stones, there was a bunch of material.
Pavers, like,
There's concrete that we're using to prevent erosion so that the banking does not go into the wetlands. Concrete is not hazardous. It's the same as a rock.
You're not allowed to put concrete in a wetland unless it's in
We're
tiny
not
little
in the
pieces.
wetland.
I'm just suggesting to you, sir, with
I-
all due respect,
With all due respect,
The attitude.
I've been threatened that you're gonna call the DEP for us doing nothing wrong.
we didn't say
I've come
that,
all the
sir.
way from Cape Cod. Yes, you did. The letter says that we're gonna call DEP if you don't come in here or fix the problem. There isn't a problem to fix. We're not doing anything wrong. And I've driven all the way to the Cape on your insistence for no reason. And I'm not happy about it. I asked for the regulation that tell me what we're doing wrong. And she sent me a bunch of stuff that is completely irrelevant to what you're claiming we're doing wrong. And I said, no, this doesn't pertain to any of this. Well, they want you to come in. And I said, well, I'm kind of busy. I'll try and make it on the 10th. And then I got an email saying we're going to send you a letter also that if you don't come in, we're going to send it to the DEP. So I have been threatened twice. And we're doing nothing wrong.
Well, if you're not doing anything wrong, then DEP won't do anything either.
That
I
is
think
true.
We need to look into the order of conditions and see what they are.
Why isn't it here? You'd asked me to come here specifically. Why aren't you prepared?
Sir, spare us the attitude. All right, we're having a public meeting here. All right,
You've threatened me.
sir,
come
threat.
in here.
Threat is a strong term. All right.
If you read the
All right,
letter, it's
sir,
pretty threatening.
Our administrative assistant had surgery. Okay, and I apologize that we don't have the file here, but we don't have the file here.
So you're not prepared for asking me to drive all the way to the Cape.
Sir, we didn't know that you drove from the
Oh,
Cape.
yes, she did, because she knows that where I was coming from.
We did
She
not
is
know
not
that.
here.
And we did not know that you lived at the Cape.
And following the legal process is not the same as issuing a threat.
There is no legal process. You have no basis for issuing the letter whatsoever to begin with. You people said you're seeing things near the wetlands. What's wrong with that? We're entitled to be near the wetlands.
Well, let's look at we'll look at the plans and see where your materials are supposed to be. Because we would not normally have let somebody put stuff like that next to the wetland. When it gets in the wetland, then, under our new bylaws, we'll be giving you a fine. Or DEP can give you a fine.
Sure.
I would think it would behoove you to keep it out of the wetland.
It is not in the wetlands. It is not in the wetlands.
Why does it need to
In
be
the
so
buffer zone.
close? Why does it need to be that close?
That's my choice. Why can't it be that close? It's a piece of pipe. Even the piece of pipe fell into the wetlands. It's not hazardous. It's not causing a problem.
I guess, sir.
And it isn't in the wetlands.
I guess, sir, what we observed was that it wasn't like they were stacked in an orderly fashion. It appeared to just be discarded there. Okay, I mean, it'd be one thing if it was stacked neatly, or if there was some order to how these materials were stored. We did not observe that when we made our site visit. That's all I'm suggesting to you.
Okay. What are we doing wrong? Just, we don't have orderly stacked building materials?
Sir, I would really need to look at the order conditions. But I know we had concerns about there being a potential encroachment or problem with the wetland.
Okay.
All right?
And when you see that sort of
Pieces of pipe near the wetlands.
laying there,
Yeah.
I think a reasonable person would conclude that where is this going?
And that is debris.
It's debris.
No, it's actually used materials. It's pipe that we've stockpiled and stored, and we have every intent of using it because it's valuable equipment and material.
But my suggestion was what we saw did not appear to fall in that category. That's all I'm saying to you.
I know exactly what it is. It's 2 huge pieces of pipe and 2 bollards. The pieces of steel, if they happen to fall into the wetlands aren't going to be ill affected by it. And they're not in the wetlands.
I thought it was debris. No, it looked like it was like from a dump truck, like you said, like
Like it had been dumped out.
like building material,
No,
like
there's-
asphalt and stuff. And there was a young guy there, and he said that there was someone there, and he said they're no longer even renting space here anymore. But I think it could have been from them or something like that. He wasn't sure.
Just something for
He's
you.
mistaken.
Well, something for you to consider is that there have been other occasions. Illegal dumping is a problem. And I'm not suggesting by you, but I'm saying that people in the middle of the night feel the need or have the need to dump materials that they don't want to properly dispose of. And so there's certainly a possibility that that materials were dumped on your property without your knowledge or
No,
consent.
no, I put the concrete there to prevent the banking from eroding into the wetlands. It's the riprap back banking. It was there to protect the wetlands. It was concrete chunks that we dug up in the process of building the property, along with a bunch of rocks that we broke up and used this riprap along the banking all the way around the property. We ran out of rocks, so we used the concrete rubble, which is basically a rock. And again, it's not in the wetlands.
Well, again, what was described by the 2 members that were at the site was a pile of rubble, a pile of debris.
It was some
That
rubble
does
or
not
debris.
sound to me like stacked up pieces of pipe that you're going to reuse for anything.
It's not a pile, it's pretty flat and level. I mean, it's not like a golf course, but it's graded off back there. It's flat and reasonably level. You could walk all along it without tripping. Not even reasonably close to a pile. And I did suggest we meet at the site, and that was denied.
I never got a request for that.
I said it'd be easier for me to meet at the site because we could just go there. It's like, oh, I'll get back to you, I'll ask him. And then it was like, no, they want you to come to the meeting.
Again, I can't speak for what I wasn't present at your conversation with Ms. Conroy, but I never got that message. I think that's an excellent suggestion, by the way.
That's what we usually want to do, rather than have people come in to actually see and see what we can do about it,
You know, I could have
So
easily
do you
explained.
drive here every day to your site? No.
So, I mean, we generally make site walks on Saturdays. I don't know if that's a convenient day for you or not, but if, we'd be happy to meet you at the property.
Well, you've already seen it,
I understand that, but you suggested that you thought a meeting at the property would be
in
beneficial.
lieu of being here.
I see.
I've already, driven the 2.5 hours out of my way to come here. I really don't want to have to do it again.
Okay.
When will you be back in the area because of your business, for instance?
I don't need to be in this area for any given reason until perhaps I have a job or a specific reason to come here.
So you don't work out of this site, you only store material
I
there?
own the building. I own the building and the company that is involved in that process, but I don't. I work in the office.
Which is at the Cape?
Yes.
Okay.
So these pieces of debris or whatever it is, concrete, whatever, these are just stored there for an indefinite period of time?
No, they're being used to prevent erosion into the wetlands. It's
Right.
riprap.
What about the other materials that you're
The
talking
pieces of
about?
pipe, they're stored there until we find a use for them.
So it's an indefinite period of time?
Yes, they're just stored materials.
Well,
What is the best way to get in touch with you?
She has my email.
Well,
That's
she-
the best way.
she's out for a month, so what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Email.
Which is?
I'll give you my card. To you?
Thank you.
So is there someone local that could perhaps work with us since you're not, since it's so hard for you to get up here to do anything?
Again, I don't know what benefit they can't.
Well, I mean, we gotta find out, we gotta get the bottom of this and look at your order conditions and then figure out if there's anything to be done, then we'll have to work with somebody on the site. Presuming that, you know, this started because two of our members went over there and thought there was a problem of stuff, you know, being next to the wetland. Because the problem is, erosion can happen, and just because something's over here doesn't mean bits of it aren't gonna go into the water. So that, you know, just because material physically doesn't look like it's in there, it could be stuff getting in there.
Well, let me stop you there.
Bleach.
Until that happens, we're not doing anything illegal, correct?
We'd have to look at your order of conditions, and
Depends on
unfortunately,
what
we
your
don't
plan
have it
said.
right
If
now.
your original plan said, I'm gonna store pipe and everything else 1 inch from the wetland, then you're right, and we're wrong. But if your plan doesn't say that, then you're wrong. So we'll have to look at the plan.
Our plan doesn't designate anything as to what we're doing there, one way or the other. But the
Now,
order
perhaps we need
conditions
to
are
talk to DEP
specific.
to see how we can address that.
Well, I think the first thing we need to do clearly is to look at the file and attain the order of conditions. Do you
And the
recall?
plan.
Yeah, in the plan. Do you recall when you appeared before us?
No, but 2003?
Okay.
I'm
2003,
guessing.
did you ever request an extension of your
Extension?
order of conditions? They're only good for 3 years.
No,
Okay. Who was your engineer?
we don't have an engineer. Who
All right.
was the engineer?
Yeah. Do you recall who? Did you present this to the board at that time yourself, or did you have someone do it for you?
I don't recall.
Okay. All right. I mean, the
Well, I'll
plan.
see if I can get
the
my
plan
hands
would
on the
indicate
file.
that.
Yep.
Right. So, with your permission, Mr. Diversion, what we'll do is we will pull the order conditions in the file, look at the plan, and we have your email, and we'll, I guess, get in touch with that way, if that's agreeable to you.
Sure.
And I'm sure none of us, I certainly had no knowledge that you had to come from the Cape to
No,
attend this
I didn't know
hearing.
either.
I didn't know that, and so I apologize. You know, I mean, I've made that trip under better circumstances, so I'm sorry you had to schlep up here from Yarmouthport.
And I think it's for no good reason. I
Well-
mean, certainly, if we were impacting the wetlands, it was reasonable. When I went there and looked around, I said, we're not doing anything, there's nothing impacting the wetlands here. And I tried to do it through the emails with the administrative assistant, and I said, send me what you're talking about is why they don't think we're allowed to put the construction materials next to the wetlands. And I'm getting,
Well, the thing we need to check out, first of all, if your order of conditions was issued in 2003, then it was done in 2006. And if there was no extension permit, then you're in violation because you have no valid order of conditions. So we need to look at your file.
okay,
Okay?
we'll go from there.
Yes, sir. All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
All right.
Okay. The wholesaler's property at 100 Southbridge Street. Dan, Mike, and I took a look at that. We could go Saturday, or last Saturday, I think it was, or we could go Saturday, whichever.
We go Saturday.
Relative to the certificate of compliance,
I would move to issue a certificate of compliance for 100 Southbridge Street.
is there a second on that?
No, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
I'll stay for that one too, Ray.
Okay. All right, just bear with me here, and I've got some certificates of compliance.
I think we need to figure out a process to start taking photos during the site walks and put them into the conservation email account, because that would simplify matters like this a bit, I think.
Well, we shouldn't just have an email, we should have a website. How difficult?
I wonder if there's a way to
One
make
step
a
at a
link off
time,
of the
but-
town's, you know, on the town's website, they have boards and commissions,
Mhm.
and we have a
Well,
page on the
because then we
website.
wouldn't be
careful
verbally describing
because
someone's
this
recollections.
information-
What?
You gotta be careful posting information that might be, someone's private property
Oh, yeah,
as well. I mean,
That's
you
true.
can't just take pictures and put it on the internet and then,
okay.
So I would, again, refer to the town manager's policy on information that she
Google
needs
can
to.
do it.
Is there a policy?
I don't know.
I don't
That's
think
what I've
so.
been asking for
Yeah.
quite some time, actually.
And
when
you've
I-
been told what?
Kind of like our seventh,
Nothing.
well, I got
Yeah,
nothing, and it's kind of like our seventh member.
So why could Google go
Well-
around taking pictures of our houses?
Yeah, but wait a
and
second. I mean, if
posting
we're
them?
taking pictures as part of a site visit and then we're intending to have the person speaking to the nature of the situation, it seems like it would hold up a lot better than us just having a verbal description of what we saw versus what they say is
I
there.
agree with you. All I'm saying
I
is
mean-
I wouldn't post them on the internet.
No, it would go to
Anyone
our
can get
email
it.
account and we'd pull it up on the screen and say, these were taken
So
at your
I'm just saying
property.
a website might
No,
be
yeah, that's...
a little too much, because then anybody goes to www
No,
and
it's
looks at everybody's
unnecessary
property.
complexity. I
Gotcha.
mean, there's no purpose to having...
Although they can do that now. All they have to do is go on Google Maps and
Well,
they can do that.
You're gonna
well,
say,
we're taking
yeah,
targeted
Google around.
pictures of.
Well, yeah, you don't
wetlands
get
and
detailed
things.
pictures of somebody's backyard from
Yeah.
Google
In
Maps.
fact, we
More
don't
than
want
used to,
Google
but...
getting a hold of them.
I took a picture
They'd
of
be
the front of my
marketing
house
all
when it
kinds
was
of
being
things.
painted.
Oh,
The
there's
garage
somebody in
door
this-
is up, my son is in there stirring a can of paint, and there's ladders on the house. And
The thing is, you never know exactly what date those were taken. It's not like it says, this was taken on...
Correct, yeah.
Okay. New England Power request for certificate of compliance. I think they sent along some additional info.
They did. Although they didn't change the date of the letter.
That,
They couldn't have.
is New England Power doing business as, or is this just,
National Grid.
right?
Yes, it is, as a matter of fact. Well, that was our concern. I mean, the problem with the request for certificate of compliance we had didn't describe the work with any specificity. And this map certainly does that, it seems.
It's kind of scattered throughout, wasn't it?
Well,
No, we're talking about-
what's on? They show structures, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They show 8 different structures in Auburn.
Right.
So I think, based on the map that they provided to us, courtesy of Google Earth, I might add,
Yeah, there it is.
I would move to issue a certificate of compliance for
Yeah, these are-
the E5/F6 transmission line project as it affected the town of Auburn.
Is there a second on that?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted.
This is a different corridor than that other project.
Yes,
Right.
this is a different one.
There's all kinds of power lines all over the place in
Yep.
town, isn't it?
There are. Let's get a
It's like
little further here
highways,
before I forget.
railroads. We're one of the only towns with 2 railroads, by the way.
2 railroads.
Yeah, we got Providence and Worcester, and
Yeah.
we've got the other one.
What, Conrail?
CSX, whatever, and it goes west.
Uh-huh.
I told that, but, town manager, hey,
Very impressive.
market that.
For a hub.
Not only are we the highway, the crossroads of central Massachusetts, now we're the railroad crossroads
Yes.
too.
Maybe Worcester is the only other municipality that has that.
Such distinction. Okay, what do I do with my ritual card?
And yet, if you want to ride a passenger train, you can't pick one up in Auburn.
Now they gotta open up, that pizza place needs to get back on the rail.
To be a real train station.
That's right.
Wouldn't that be something? Okay.
Hold your breath.
Go to Providence from Auburn.
Wouldn't that, yeah. that
You don't
kind
just order the pizza and have it delivered. They actually deliver the restaurant to you.
They deliver it from Rhode Island.
of- We could go visit Providence Place or something.
You know what? Pizza in Rhode Island's better.
Golden pizza's kind of unimpressive.
No, no,
273 Washington Street, we already dealt with. Bylaws.
fine, this is a community.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, do we want to,
Do you want to work on it a
do we
little
have this,
bit?
do we have the strength to go over the bylaws? I mean, I'll read.
For a period of
It's gonna be
time,
hard because
If you want to listen.
for an indeterminate period.
for a
of
little
time.
bit of.
I don't even think I have an
no
internet
clerk here.
connection here today for
Oh, what's
whatever
going on?
reason.
They shut us down.
About 20 minutes.
Yeah, because
Alright.
we have no clerk, so Louise and I are gonna like make sure we get all the notes and changes and stuff.
Okay, that's fine. Sure,
Guess I won't be pulling one up on the big board.
okay. When last we visited the proposed bylaw, we have reached page 23 of the Needham Wetland Regulations that we're using as a template. And the section is 1.10 security,
Right.
Yes.
okay? So, here goes nothing.
For 20 minutes.
For 20 minutes, exactly. Exactly, so we'll be done by 8:15. Okay, 1.10 security. The commission may require, as a permit condition, that the performance and observance of the permit be secured by one or both of the following methods. A, by a bond or deposit of money or negotiable securities in an amount and form determined by the commission to be sufficient to secure the completion of all conservation measures specified in their permit, and the commission may require that the applicant specify the time within which such construction shall be completed. The penal sum of any such bond shall bear a direct and reasonable relationship to the expected costs, including the effects of inflation necessary to complete the subwork. Such amount or amounts shall be from time to time reduced as is, and the determination of the commission necessary to reflect the actual expected costs of the work remain to be completed. B, by a covenant executed and duly recorded by the owner of record running with the land, whereby such conservation measures as are stated in the permit be provided before any lot may be built upon or conveyed. C, the bond or covenant shall, in the case of the bond, be given to the town and, in the case of a covenant, be recorded in the registry of deeds within 14 days of the granting of an order of conditions in the parentheses permit. How do we feel about that?
I'm okay with, I mean, I
Seems
like the
reasonable.
fact that we're gonna be able to have a bond. I mean, there's been a couple times in the past when the planning board has been kind enough to hold a bond for us,
Yeah,
because
and,
we didn't have the authority, but now the bylaws, the regs would give us the ability to hold a bond ourselves in
Right.
projects that you need it.
exactly. And we know from experience, or the planning board experience, that it sometimes is needed, so I agree.
Absolutely.
Okay. 1.11 Waiver of regulations. Strict compliance with these rules and regulations may be waived when, in the judgment of the Commission, A, such action would serve a substantial public interest, B, such action is required for compliance with the Massachusetts Contingency Plan, or MCP, C, strict compliance would result in severe economic hardship greater in magnitude than the public interest to be served, or D, a credible expert has demonstrated that the resource area does not protect the public interests. Period. No waiver shall be granted unless the Commission determines that A, there are no practicable alternatives to the proposed action, B, alteration of the resource area has been minimized to the greatest extent practicable, and C, compensatory or mitigating measures are taken, even at an off-site location, to protect the public interest in the protected resource area to be removed, filled, dredged, built upon, or altered. The burden of proof shall be on the applicant to demonstrate that the proposed project meets the standards defined in this section. And we should talk about that. How do we feel about 1.11?
Is this actually unusual?
I don't know. It was adopted by Needham. You know, it doesn't mean we have to adopt it.
Are you feeling that you'd rather not?
No, I think I believe that that there may be rare instances where a waiver of regulations can be done.
But it would still be up to the board to decide that, so.
Well, that's right.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
When we'd only be waiving basically regulations that are under the town's control
Right,
via the bylaw. This doesn't cover
No,
state regs.
they'd still have to comply with the state law.
Right.
Even if you waived something, they'd still have to do E DEP.
I guess the only one that sort of
Just as a point of information, in the Northborough bylaw, they have waiver section, but they mention that it's in the public interest and not inconsistent with the intent and purpose of the wetlands bylaw.
I like that. You want to add that sentence, that phrase in?
Well, it seems like once you accept the second section there, I don't know.
I guess the one section that kind of caught my attention was D, where it says a credible expert is to demonstrate that the resource area does not protect the public interest.
I'm not sure what that phrase means.
Well, number one, I'm not
Exactly.
sure I do either. And secondly, when would a resource area not meet the public interest?
And whose definition of
Who's-
credible expert?
Yeah, whose expert are you going to
The
listen to, I
project
guess?
proponent's credible expert or the commission's credible expert?
So I think D is I think it's poorly written myself.
So
I would take D out.
you want to just strike D out of there?
Yeah, I would.
Do we want to say anything about the intent and purpose of the wetlands bylaw?
Could you read that again, please, John?
Okay, well, I can read the whole section here. I don't know how we would add it in, but it says the commission may, in any particular case where such action is in the public interest and not inconsistent with the intent and purpose of the wetlands bylaw, waive strict compliance with those portions of the regulations which are not required by the wetlands bylaw. Any person seeking a waiver pursuant to this section shall make a request in writing, specifically identify the portions of the regulations for which a waiver is sought, and all the reasons in support of the request for the waiver.
You know what we could do is we could simply take that instead of, this is a lot more verbiage in the Needham bylaw versus that
Northborough.
nice short section.
Well, I think also
This kind
Northborough
of leaves
gives
it
you,
up to us.
there's more flexibility, I think, in the language that the Northborough provision
What?
sets forth.
This is Northborough Wetlands Regulations, Section 3.9.
3.9,
It says waivers.
yep.
I like it better myself.
Is there a subsection or anything, or just the
It's-
whole section?
Well, it's
Are we going to replace the
under,
whole?
it's under general provisions, and it's just a section that says waivers,
Okay, so the whole waiver section.
yes.
Okay.
And it doesn't say anything about Northborough, so I think we could just take it as is.
Okay, so you want to take the Northborough section on waivers and replace what we have?
Is
with
that agreeable?
Well, what I would suggest is I would say use the Northborough, that section on waivers for the first part, which begins strict compliance and ends at the end of D.
Yeah,
I actually kind of like the remainder of that section where it says no waiver shall be granted unless.
all right, so you want to, okay, so you want to replace Northborough with the top part and then keep the bottom part?
Yes. What do you think about that?
I agree.
This really is like making
'Cause it-
sausage, isn't it?
Well, no, the good thing about that is it kind of gives guidance to the commission and says, here's why a waiver cannot be granted. Rather than just say, well, public interest, whatever they determine.
So,
All right,
All right, so we're in agreement?
yep.
I think
Okay,
so.
good, excellent.
Do you need a copy of this to go in with the record?
I think I have a copy of the, well, we're going to have to all meld this together anyway,
Yeah.
so
Okay.
All
I'll
right.
just make a note
So-
that this is going to come out.
Okay.
All right. 1.12 filing fees. In addition to the fees charged under MGL Chapter 131, Section 40, these regulations establish the fees listed below. The fees, which apply to all non-municipal projects, are deposited in the general fund. Costs associated with the publication of legal notices are not included in the schedule of filing fees and shall be paid by the applicant directly to the newspaper publisher. No public hearing shall be opened and no action taken on any matter before the commission until the appropriate filing fee has been received by the commission. Any fee listed in parts A through G below will be doubled for any application for a permit filed after any work within the jurisdiction of the commission has been started or completed. This does not preclude the commission from initiating enforcement actions as outlined in section 1.09 of these regulations.
I just had a procedural comment before we get into the numbers.
Right.
Relative to the applicants paying the newspaper fees directly to the publisher, we don't do it that way.
Okay.
They give a check to the town of Auburn, a separate check to cover the cost of advertising. The town puts in the ads and the town gets billed for the ads and pays out of that
Okay.
account.
We'll get it.
Well, I think, yeah, so I think we need to clarify that part of it.
Okay.
Well, it should say, and shall be paid by the applicant directly to the town of Auburn,
Yep.
to the town of Auburn, which shall be responsible for placing the legal notice. How's that?
Yep.
These here. Talk about it.
Okay.
Then it's just more bookkeeping we need to follow without conservation agents. We'd have to keep track of when they're paying.
Okay. All right. A, request for determination of applicability, $100. B, resource area delineation, single-family residential lot, $100. Other projects, $1 per linear foot, $1,000 maximum. C, application for permit notice of intent. And then they have a little subsection that says the total bylaw filing fee for a notice of intent that involves more than one activity is determined by adding the fees for each proposed activity. So, subsection I, minor activities, accessory use to single-family dwellings, includes additions, driveways, swimming pools, tennis courts, etc., $150. Subsection 2, new residential construction and associated site work, includes demolition and new construction, $250. 3, multiple dwelling structures, 3 or more units, $500. 4, subdivisions, and then in parentheses, road and utilities only, $750. 5, commercial, institutional, or industrial development, $1,000. 6, new parking lots, $750. 7, any other activity not described in 1 through 6 above, $250. D, amendment to an order of conditions, $150. E, request to extend an order of conditions, $100. F, request for certificate of compliance for an expired order of conditions, $150. And then it says, and they've put in an asterisk, there is no fee associated with a request for certificate of compliance for a valid order of conditions. And then G, work requiring a waiver under section, it says section 1.11 of these regulations, which is the waiver of regulation section, and that's $1,000. So, how
You
are we
gotta
gonna-
remember that these fees would be over and above the state mandated fees.
I understand that.
And like currently, there's no filing fee for a request for determination of applicability,
Yeah,
and there's no fee associated with asking for an extension permit either.
that's right.
I would just say, as a point of information, that different towns have different amounts.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Yeah, I
more
think
or less.
In the, well, under the Northborough, I mean, it's, you know, an order of magnitude less than this. I do think that we need to charge something for the request for determination, but if you make it too expensive, people aren't going to do it. And I feel that we should encourage more requests for determination than notices of, well, notice of
Well,
intent.
it all depends, but you're
Impact.
absolutely right.
I mean, it seems like this section could end up getting really squishy really quickly. Like, how do we decide what the numbers are? I mean,
It's for us to decide.
yeah.
And I personally don't think that you should have a fee to give somebody an extension permit.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, you're not reviewing anything, you're just saying, yes, you can have more time.
Well, the only counter to that is if it takes any clerical work at all, then we need to be able to charge for our person's time.
you know, I mean, if you look under C, I mean, there are 7 different fees for just a notice of intent. And
Yeah.
so, and I mean, what Needham has done is they've really they look at the particular project and they obviously charge accordingly. You know, we can set the amounts.
Right, but Needham is a lot more affluent community than we are, too.
Well, it is.
Yes.
Now,
But and again, you have to remember that the state fee, we're getting half of that plus $25 of that fee. The state gets the other half. You know, so it's not as though we're not, it's not as though we're not being paid. And to me, you're also asking people to pay for a peer review outside of these fees. You know, and then, like when we get Graves' review, they're paying for that peer review beyond these fees. And I get it, that an extension permit doesn't have a fee tied to it, but an extension permit, to me, it's like part of that original notice of intent. When they file that notice of intent to get that order of conditions, now they'd be paying for the state mandated fees, for which we get half plus $25, plus they're gonna pay whatever these additional fees are, plus they're gonna pay for a peer review, and now you're gonna ask them to pay when they can't get all their work done in 3 years and they need an extension permit.
I mean, would it be useful at all to talk to town council about implementing these, or, I mean, it's just,
I don't think it's up to town. It's not up to town council.
not.
No, it isn't, it's up to us to
us.
decide what
Yeah.
we wanna do.
I'm not worried about it. I just think the amounts are too high for our town.
Well,
but how, that's what I'm
about it.
saying, is how do you go about deciding what's fair? I mean,
Well,
we
live here.
that's what we're doing. We're having a discussion about it.
Right, and I'm sure there'll be a lively discussion when we have
Uh,
our hearing.
yeah.
But,
I'm just wondering if
I
there's
do
like
think
other
we need
towns
to-
near us.
Well,
who are like
Northborough
us.
is near us.
yeah, and Northborough has, I mean, you can look at this, they have categories for all kinds of things, and
Uh-huh.
I don't know what the 1 through 6 is, but like, for instance, request for termination, $75.
Okay.
Abbreviated notice of resource area delineation, 50% of the fee is calculated methodology from 310 CMR 10.031.
How much they charge? Doesn't say.
It doesn't say, it just says whatever the CMR fee is, half of that.
Okay.
Notice of intent, they have different categories ranging from $40, $50, $100, $150.
Yeah, I think that's more within the range of
You know,
of our
amended
town.
order conditions is $50 though.
Mhm.
Extension permit fee is $50, so they do charge for those things. Reinspection for certificate of compliance is charged, they have charges for that as well, so. But there's not, and the other thing I noticed on this is it adds up, so if you've got a parking lot and a new commercial building and a subdivision, you
Right.
know, now you're
You're adding all these things together.
you add them up. So I guess we can go either way. I don't know what the right amount is to charge.
Well, why don't we think about it? We can revisit this.
I do support charging something for the request for termination, just because we get the most of them, but
Yeah.
I don't think it should be $100.
I don't think it should be 75 either.
and I think, just speaking for myself, it might be best to keep this simple. Like, not necessarily feel need to put in a fee for every category they've put in a fee for. And
Well, the only thing I'd say about that is, imagine if we had had a fee when the mall was built that did add some things up.
Yeah.
We could have done a much better job at conserving, the waterway, because let's face it, there have been some really large commercial developments,
Right.
and most of them haven't really needed to file, but we still have bodies of water in town, many of them, and I'm sure that this property will probably go up in commercial values, the stuff that's zoned for it. So, who's to say we're not going to have another major construction project near some body of water in town? So it's something to think about. But yeah, these prices are a little much in my opinion.
Those are
Yeah.
Boston prices,
Right.
not Worcester prices.
What's-
Worcester. So why don't we'll come back and revisit this. But I think the sense I get, and I agree, I think that the Needham fees are 50% higher than they should be. At least 50% higher. And like you said, Dan, we don't need to perhaps distinguish for a notice of intent the way Needham does.
I mean, and it's just, I'm assuming, well, it's another layer of bookkeeping for like every single filing, where I'm just picturing a worst case scenario where something gets overlooked and we end up with one applicant saying, hey, you know, I paid that fee, and then we have another applicant,
Well, I mean,
something
the town does
happens
that
and
for-
then the fee doesn't get charged, and then it's like you're being arbitrary.
Well, look, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah.
You're talking, what you're suggesting is applying the regulations as opposed to actually, you know, preparing the regulations. So,
You know, and too, like, I've always, with the request for determination of applicability, while I hate to see Joe homeowner that happens to be within 100 feet of a wetland, who wants to put up a shed or something, having to file and pay $100. On the other hand, if you've got Joe developer who's doing a project and it's in the buffer zone and he files a request for determination and we end up having to hire someone because we've got an issue because we're not sure of the wetland delineation or something, then you're kind of on your own as far as paying for a reviewer. You know, it's like you get nothing.
exactly. No, I think that there are arguments both ways, and I think, you know, you compare, you know, a homeowner from a commercial developer putting up a 500 home subdivision, not that that's going to happen in Auburn, they should be treated differently. All right. And if you look at the next section, and I'm not sure we're going to even get to it, but it's 1.13, and they talk about a waiver or reduction of filing fees. So,
Also, maybe if you establish your first page, then you got the arbitrary decision of allowing a waiver.
well, it's
right?
not arbitrary. Well, there has to be a rational basis for it. Do you want to continue? Or do you want to stop here?
It's been 20 minutes, but I don't know.
Well, then let's stop.
You want to stop here?
Yeah, because I think we should think about. We need to think about what we want to charge
About the
for
numbers,
fees.
and then maybe when we come back to it, we can discuss the numbers and then go on to the waiver part.
Exactly.
Okay.
City code, so
All right, that sounds reasonable to me.
make categories, some are $750, some are $500. Hazardous waste operations, the resource areas, they lay it out.
Okay. Well, that was good. Our electronic access bugaboo issue is, I guess I'm gonna have to push that issue, so.
Well,
Well, heck, tonight we didn't even have internet access.
Well, plus the seventh board member too. I wonder why there's no internet access tonight.
I don't know.
Miscellaneous site visits, we talked about 100 Southbridge Street, we gave them the certificate. We went to 50 paid. We don't have any enforcement orders outstanding. Pending business, I do not know what the status is on the Graves review of the Pappas Rec thing. I don't understand why it's taking so long. I can follow up with Adam Burney if you'd like to find out what this, you know. That was on the issue of the detention pond
Right.
versus the wet pond.
Yes. I mean, that's been pending for quite a while, right?
It's gotta be over a month.
Yeah, I think so too.
That was the one though, I think, wasn't that the one where Adam neglected to forward the request? It only got sent like 3 weeks ago or something, I think that might be the one. I'll find out. Okay, let's see, our pending stuff, oh yeah, and Rochdale Bridge Street, that's an ongoing thing. Adela Street, we haven't gotten a call, I don't think, about going out there for a site visit. The minutes, I don't know if you looked at the minutes that were sent out, I got it yesterday. I still had a lot of issues with it, I didn't even start looking at it,
Then let's defer it.
because I don't want to redo somebody else's minutes.
Okay.
But-
Made several corrections myself.
So, the next meeting would be on the 24th. We had a hearing, wasn't there, on that draft agenda that we have for the 24th? There's a hearing, isn't there?
There's, Herb Chambers,
That's
the
right.
notice of intent.
That's right. That's for a project at Carlisle at the corner of Prospect Street and Route 20.
20 Prospect Street. Yep.
So that, if you notice, their engineering firm is Graves. So Adam told me yesterday that it has been sent to VHB for peer review.
Okay.
Okay, just so you're aware. So, does anyone have anything else?
well, I saw a bald eagle in my backyard the other day.
In your
Really?
backyard? Wow.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's also seen all kinds of ducks, and of course, heard about the bear.
Yes.
Yeah, is that
Was
near
that
you?
on Leicester
Really?
Street?
Well, it
Is
was
that
on
near you?
Leicester Street,
Oh, okay,
over across the water.
okay.
Well, the guy
Yeah,
shot it.
a 50-gallon drum full of birdseed. Come on, that's he's bait. He wanted that bear to come along. I mean, that's
Yeah.
Really, I hadn't heard about that.
He was
You
trying to
hear about
get
that?
It
No,
was in
Been all
the
over the news
newspaper.
and
Chuck's
newspaper.
bald eagle.
Last couple of days, 76-year-old guy.
the Telegram and Gazette?
Yeah, it was in the
And
paper.
it was on the- it was on Channel
It was on
5.
TV, actually.
yeah.
Like,
He went-
he went back in the house,
9 o'clock at night to
got
fill
his
his
gun,
bird.
and then came out and shot it. So
Yeah.
it's not like...
And he
I
got
don't
charged too.
Yeah.
know. He did.
So,
I read
But
the
anyway.
paper public cover every morning. I didn't see it in the paper.
It happened, what,
So,
2-3
there's
days ago,
been-
I think.
There's been wild animals all over the place.
At 9 o'clock at night, they're always out there filling his bird feeder.
Oh my.
And it says, they saw something black come crashing out of the
300
window.
to 400 pound bear, and it was a female, so the concern was that she has cubs, so,
Oh, oh, that's right, because they just be coming out of their dens now, right?
yeah.
You should
Nice
probably
weather.
adjourn so they can take us off television.
But yeah, we
Is there a
started,
motion to adjourn?
so moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So voted.